This morning's guest is a circuit court judge. During the 4th of July vacation, she became a different kind of judge. Who is she? You'll meet her coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're in the lobby of the Spartanburg Memorial Auditorium in Spartanburg, South Carolina. We're focused on last week's Miss South Carolina pageant, which was held here in Spartanburg. And we're visiting with one of its judges and a real-life judge, Judge Alison Lee. Good morning,
Good
Allison.
morning. It's good to see you again.
Do you mind if I call you Allison?
That's fine,
early
Greg,
on a
that's
Wednesday
fine.
morning?
We've been together for a long time,
That's
so you may call me
exactly
Allison,
right.
definitely.
How exciting. What an amazing being up here last week.
Oh, it certainly was. It was a lot of fun, and I got to meet a lot of new people, and it was just a fascinating experience.
Of course, all the contestants from all over the state. To think, what was it 92?
I believe it was, somewhere
Contestants, 41 teen contestants, and 51 of the Miss.
That's right.
Had you judged a pageant before?
Had never judged a pageant before, and was thrilled to do it this time.
Oh, yeah.
It was a lot of fun, and just to see the young ladies and to hear them talk about their platforms and see the passion that they have. It was a lot of fun. I hope to be able to do it again.
Oh yeah, very definitely. And
I'm sure you had a great time too.
I did. It was great. It's kind of tough at times being sequestered from everyone
Yes.
and being forced to not look people eye to eye. I mean, literally thinking seriously about the contestant level of making sure we're totally objective.
That's
and
right.
maintaining objectivity. I guess you have to do that day in and day out.
I have to do that on a daily basis, and I enjoy my job thoroughly. So it's just nice to have a happy occasion to be judging.
Yes, very definitely. Speaking of that, what kind of cases in the Fifth Circuit, I think you mentioned that's in Richland and Kershaw County there
That's right.
in Columbia, what kind of cases do you all deal with?
Primarily civil cases. The typical ones that you think about are the motor vehicle accidents or the contract disputes. Then the criminal cases as well. We get some appeals from municipal court, magistrates court, and we used to get the appeals from some of the other state agencies, but a lot of those now are going forward to the Court of Appeals directly, so we're bypassed on some of that.
Wow, so a lot. It is, as you say, not quite as nice, even-keeled as the events here in Spartanburg last week.
No, not at all. It can be very thrilling, and we have jury trials, and so we add the component of having the jurors come in, and the jurors usually decide a lot of our cases, and so it makes my job a little bit easier presiding over the trials, but it still is difficult.
I'm sure a lot of folks would love to spend 30 minutes just hearing you talk about being a judge there in the Midlands. Speaking of that, are you actually from the Midlands?
Not originally. I live in Columbia now, but originally I'm from Washington, D.C.
Really?
I grew up there and went to school and went to law school in New Orleans and then moved here after that.
What was it like growing up in Washington, Allison? Did that ever spurn being being in the nation's capital? Did that ever make you think ever about possibly running for office?
Never considered politics, never considered running for office. I was content to go to school and enjoy my surroundings. The wonderful thing about being in Washington are all the museums, the Smithsonian's. I used to love to go to the Smithsonian Museum, and I'd just go down there on the weekends and just spend hours walking through the various museums. And then on the 4th of July, the fireworks display at the Washington Monument, I really miss that.
I bet. Of course, being here last Friday for the 4th of July and thinking about, A, we're not in our homes, either in Columbia or down in Myrtle Beach. B, not being in Washington for you and thinking about, but still experiencing some great displays. Spartanburg really put on a great show.
They really did. It was wonderful. And just to see all the lights, and it was a lot like being in Washington.
Yes. You think so much has to happen as you progress. Did you have parents who were actually in the law that opened the doors for you to think about law as a passion?
No, I did not have parents, but I did have family members who were in the law, and we've talked frequently when we were judging about role models, and actually one of my role models for the law was Matthew Perry.
Is that right?
He's my uncle, and I got to see him and spend a lot of time with him as I was growing up, and see his fights and the civil rights, and so I think that's what led me to think about going into the law.
Well, I had not gotten that connection that Judge Perry Judge Perry was your uncle, but to think of that connection as that would be a great yearning. Was that your mother's brother or your father's brother?
He is related to me. It's my mother's sister's husband. So he is a relative by marriage, not by blood.
Right. Are your parents still living, Alison?
My mother's still living, and since I have the grandchildren. She moved to South Carolina not too long ago, and my father died when I was small.
Oh boy, I'm sorry. Speaking of that, you have brothers and sisters.
I have a sister who lives in Houston, Texas,
right.
And she's older than I am. She's a psychologist there in Houston.
That is great. Well, you think about, of course, the activities of judging the young ladies, and I think a lot of folks want to know what that is like. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff you can't talk about, but what was it like over the course of the week being up here, seeing some of the young ladies? Since I'm the interviewer here, you can't be asking me, although I'd love to talk about it. But for you, what was it like, and a little bit about the other three judges?
It was a lot of work. We spent the first 3 days in a room interviewing each and every one of those contestants, talking about their platforms, talking about world issues, talking about national issues, talking about them personally.
Right.
And that took up a lot of time, and then the other 3 days with of course the talent and the famous swimsuit competition, evening gowns.
Or infamous.
That's right. You get to see them poised and dressed and really going about their talent and performing. It was a wonderful experience, and we had a great group of judges.
Yes.
A number of us were first-time judges.
That's right.
You included, I believe. And
I don't know if you knew it, but Jack Cooper was with us yesterday here.
Oh, was he? Oh, that's
and of course.
he was a great head judge,
yes.
and he had a lot of insight and really guided us, I think, in teaching us about what judging a Miss America pageant was all about.
Absolutely. Adrian Johnson, who'll be with us next week here. Actually, we're coming back to film next week, and we have Miss America.
That's
will be with us
that'll be wonderful.
Next week here. Of course, later this week, tomorrow we have the city manager here in Spartanburg, and then the mayor will be with us on Friday.
And they were very gracious hosts for us. I mean, they really entertained us and made sure that we were comfortable and laid out the red carpet for us in the city, and it was really special.
One of the great things I learned, I don't know if you learned the same thing, was learning a lot about the state through all these women from different parts of the state. Of course, we're in the upstate now. I live at the beach. You're in the Midlands. We had young ladies from the low country from all over the state. You really learn a lot of the special aspects of the state that a lot of people may take for granted. You
do, and we got to hear about the particular issues that were so dear to them in their communities and the things that they were advocating in their platforms.
Yeah. Speaking of community, are there some activities in Columbia that are near and dear to your heart, Alison, that you've really gotten active in?
Yes, there are. There are two organizations that I belong to. They are national organizations, but we have chapters in Columbia, one of which is Jack and Jill of America. That is an organization that advocates children and promoting events for children and getting them together and teaching them about how to be able to conduct themselves in the world. It is a wonderful organization, and we try our best to make sure that we extend ourselves to others in the community.
Like Jack and Jill.
Jack
what a great
and Jill,
name.
Isn't it?
How did they come up with that name?
Jack and Jill went up the hill.
Listen up, that's great.
And truly it's hand in hand, and it's designed in the spirit of friendship. The other organization is the Links Incorporated. That is a national service organization. We address service, cultural issues, not only nationwide but also internationally. We have chapters in South Africa and in Germany and the Nassau Bahamas. Our role is it's a women's organization. Our role is to try to improve the lives of those in our community from a woman's perspective. And we've done a lot of active things. We go into the schools and work with them as well. Still advocating Just Say No clubs, and we try to do mentoring programs. We do healthcare issues. We also focus on the arts in our communities and how important that is.
Right. Well, you mentioned Jack and Jill and children. Of course, a lot of folks want to know what it's like for you having had to have a daughter that's similar in age to the young ladies who were performing up here. But real quick, I saw you're also very active with your church, and am I correct, an extraordinary minister with the Eucharist. What exactly is that?
Well, I'm Catholic, and you've probably seen situations where you receive the host in communion. We are people who volunteer in the church, and we're approved by the priest for the local parish, and we are responsible for handing out the host during the communion time. So. And I find it's a wonderful ministry. As you probably are aware, we Catholics, we believe that the Eucharist is the body and blood of Jesus Christ, and it is a very sacred and holy ministry, and I'm glad to be a part of that.
That's tremendous, Alison. Well, I do have to ask that. I think you mentioned your daughter is 17.
Yes, well, she'll be 17 tomorrow.
Oh, wow, okay,
July 10th.
forgive me, that's right.
That's
She's
right.
16 and now 17, or will be tomorrow. That's tremendous. When you think about that for you, having a 16-year-old daughter, soon to be 17, and the experiences of being up here around a lot of young women who are very similar in age, of course, the 41 teen contestants, many of them between 13 and 17, did you see is your daughter in pageants at all? Or?
She has not participated in any of this, but I certainly have talked to her about it and certainly encourage her because of the scholarship component. Especially, she'll be a senior in high school this fall.
You'd like that.
And with college coming up, that's quite important. Yeah. And she's has a lot of the same qualities as many of these girls.
Right.
And I think she would be a wonderful contestant if she's going to be interested in doing that. And I would certainly encourage her to do so.
Absolutely. And you also have, I think you mentioned, a son.
Yes. Yes, my son is, he'll be a junior at College of Charleston.
Great.
He is a theater major with a minor in Japanese.
In Japanese?
Japanese.
They actually have that as a minor at the College of Charleston?
They do indeed.
Wow.
He started teaching himself Japanese when he was in the 8th grade.
Oh, come on.
He did. I don't know whether it was from video games or where the interest came from, but he started teaching himself Japanese and had the opportunity to go to Japan and spend a summer and live with a family. And he thoroughly loves it and has kept in contact with his family there.
Right.
And so we're very proud of him. And of course, he is able to translate some of that into his theater work as well.
Yes. So no encouragement from you or your husband for him to study Japanese.
No,
of course, in the U.S. and obviously last week during the competition, we talked a lot about even immigration, which is a big issue, and Spanish, which is becoming so much more popular in the school systems because of obviously interfacing with folks of other cultures, but particularly Spanish in the U.S. It's Japanese. That's just amazing.
It is amazing, and we're very proud of it.
Yeah, that is tremendous. Wow, Alison. What was it like for you when you made the decision to go? I think I saw after law school, you said law school down in New Orleans at Tulane, having come to South Carolina and clerked and then gotten into private practice, making that transition from private practice to working. I think I saw for 5 years you helped draft legislation for the General Assembly. What was that like?
Oh, well, that was a special job. It was nice being in the General Assembly and being behind the scenes. I mean, I knew everything that was going on before it hit the newspaper. So when I read it the next morning, it was like, oh, I know about that already. But I drafted legislation in the area of criminal laws and also transportation. I was a member of Legislative Council. That's a group of lawyers that primarily draft legislation for the General Assembly. When I came in, we were assigned various areas in which we would draft legislation. So if a member came in and wanted to do something along the lines of criminal law or the judiciary, they would come to me, and so I began to specialize in some of that legislation. So it was very fascinating, and to interact and to know what was going on, and I truly enjoyed that.